Big question here for Wednesday, April 9th. One of the most compelling American soccer writers, Pablo Maurer, uncovered an interesting document and put out a well-written piece in The Athletic regarding some plans, the original plans from the 1994 World Cup bid written back in the late 80s, leading us to the question, would the original American promotion relegation plan from the 80s ever be able to get off the ground in America? Now or at any time, really.
Yeah, Rob, this is a fascinating thing. Were you ever a reader of like fantasy, sci-fi, alternate history kind of stuff? Was that ever a thing that you did? Yeah,
Oh
a little
yeah,
bit.
yeah. I really like what is what's the graphic novel with the comedian
Oh
and
yes, the Watchmen
the
is I believe
Watchmen.
what
Yeah.
the
So the thing that comes
Watchmen.
to mind is the Watchmen. That's the alternate history. I like that stuff. Yeah.
I, my, since you mentioned them, look, there's right there my copy of the Watchmen, or Watchmen. It's no D. People get mad. That stuff fascinates me. Now it's always like and if you talk to a real historian, they'll tell you that those counterfactuals are kind of pointless. Like counterfactuals are dumb. What are we doing here? We have no idea. You may go back and change one event, but you have no idea what would happen after that, or whether we would end up coming back to the same timeline, et cetera, et cetera. But it is fun to imagine for us as soccer fans what might have happened if America had instituted the pro-rel plan that you just described. Pablo Maurer wrote about at The Athletic. He went digging in the National Soccer Archives, and he came up with something. I encourage you to go read the article if you got an Athletic subscription, because you need to see the quotes from people like Alan Rothenberg, who was one of the original architects of MLS, who was the president of U.S. Soccer just around 90-91, heading into the World Cup. You got Werner Fricker, who's passed away but was part of the story here. Sunil Gulati was around. He was involved in this, launching the idea of putting together the idea of a pro-rel. This is basically Fricker wanted pro-rel. He had come from Germany. He wanted to see America organized along German lines. And what's interesting about this is that he had a three-tiered system in mind: first division, second division, third division. Second and third divisions regionally organized. So I will read you some of the details here. So you would have a 32 team first division, national first division. Now we're pretty close to that
Yeah.
already, right? We got
That's
30 MLS. I thought 30 was a lot, and maybe MLS would stop at 20, whatever, 24, since we got one of the biggest first divisions in the world. But apparently Werner Fricker saw something even bigger. He thought, we could add two to that. We could have a 32-team top division. So maybe we start there. Let's go top down. If you were to add two teams, two existing teams, to Major League Soccer to make the first division of Werner Ficker's dreams, what teams would those be? Because we've already done a video that got some heat around it because we picked the USL first division teams for 2028. Who would you add?
I think just because of the facilities they have and the success that they've had on the field, I would go Louisville would be my first pick for
Okay.
a promotion. Like off the top of
Okay.
my head.
Louisville is established. They've got their own building, all those things. We're leaving PLS out of this conversation, by the way. I mean, we just kind of have to push PLS to the side. And yeah, that would be a thing. But I think Louisville's a pretty good shout. Look, just because, and again, everyone would say, you got to win your way into the first division. But we're picking two teams that feel like first division teams, so then we can institute this system along the lines of Werner Fricker. And I think stadiums matter here. I also think market size matters. Now, I'm going to pick Detroit. I know they don't have the stadium yet, but I like what they've done. Let's throw Detroit, just for our purposes. Again,
Yeah.
You can argue with us.
For selfish reasons, I'd love that too.
We've got Louisville and we got Detroit. Now we have a 32-team first division. And you can win a promotion into that league from a regionalized, two regions, second division of American soccer. And the way that this was imagined is, I'm sorry, I meant four regions. See, it's already confusing. Four regions. I'm going to throw up a map here. This is just a general map of the United States of America. And Alaska and Hawaii get left out. Sorry about you, Alaska and Hawaii. Contiguous United States. If we had four regions and we needed 12 teams in each region, the way that Werner Fricker imagined this, what would our regions be? Because you got to worry about population, right? So the Northeast would be small, but have a lot of population and a lot of cities that could support teams. Then you would have the Southeast, I guess. And then you would kind of draw a line down the middle. What do you think, Rob? Like, could we get 12 teams out of the plain states from Nebraska, North Dakota, South Dakota, all the way to the West Coast? I don't know if we can.
Ooh, it does get thin there once you get west of the Minnesota, even really west of the Wisconsin, Illinois kind of line that goes down the middle. So are we trying to count, like, see if we can't count off a dozen in the Western Midwest or the Plains states? So I don't want to get in trouble with the Iowa, Omaha, Nebraska beef again, but so we have Des Moines, Omaha, Minnesota cities, an Oklahoma one. And then would you throw in Texas in those Plains states?
Yeah, I mean, look, okay, maybe the better way to do this is to think about it in terms of what already exists. And I know we've also talked about expansion, and we did an expansion video, USL expansion video, that even missed a couple of places because there's so much happening in terms of lower division soccer and the number of potential places the league wants to expand to. I think did we miss Boise when we talked about Boise with Jeremiah Osham. Did we miss Boise when we did our kind of recap of what projects are out there? Like, I feel like maybe we did. But maybe we need to think about what already exists. And I'm working to pull up a map of the USL situation as it sits, Robert. But what do you think of? I mean, are there enough teams already existing? Professional teams, maybe between both USL Championship and USL League One, that we really wouldn't have to do too much work here.
Yeah, I think where we are now, I think we're getting close to there. And if there was that carrot dangled for people who are thinking about putting plans together, I think that would accelerate them if they knew that they could get into a setup such as this. I think some people that are considering taking the plunge would push forward. But I think between the 30 teams in Major League Soccer and between the two current levels of USL, I think that it could work.
So again, going on Werner Ficker's plan, we got 32 teams now in our top division. We're just calling that MLS for our purposes. That means that we've taken Louisville and Detroit City out of the USL and moved them up into MLS. If everybody's agreeing that this is the plan, if everybody was suddenly their brains were zapped and they were like, "Yeah, let's do this," and it was all happiness in American soccer. Would we? So again, okay, in the Northeast, you got no problem. I mean, you have to even zoom in here with the insets. You got Portland, Heart of Pine. I'm not even sure who's up there in. I'm missing one up there in New Hampshire, I think. Obviously, you've got Rhode Island and Hartford, and in the New York City area, you got a couple of Westchester and Brooklyn. You've got teams in Delaware, like that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Detroit's out. 11, Fort Wayne. 12, Indianapolis. Or maybe, that's maybe your Northeast region of this second division. And then, no Louisville because you've taken them out, but Lexington. Did I include Richmond in the Northeast? I think I did, right? So Lexington, North Carolina, Charlotte, Knoxville, Chattanooga, Red Wolves, Triumph. I mean, how many we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's a team that's launching, Wilmington. I think it says USL Wilmington there. I guess that's a reborn Hammerhead situation. Somebody help me out. But the Southeast looks like we can do it, right? And maybe there's a team that pops up. And that NOLA project, by the way, somebody asked us in the comments earlier today about NOLA. I don't see any movement there. So that maybe is out of this equation, but we can imagine a world, again, if things come together, where they can help populate the Southeast. The Southwest doesn't look too difficult. You got 3 teams in Northern California. You got 3 teams in Southern California if you include Alta, which is AV Alta or whatever that is, which is there in that inset. You've got Phoenix, you got Tucson, you got Vegas, you got Reno coming on at some point, New Mexico Locomotive. We're pretty close, right? With 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's 12 there. There's that central Texas area, which I guess you have to throw in with the Midwest and the Northwest. I don't know. Again, maybe you just do a Western region, of course. You could just do that. But I think there might be one too many teams, or I guess New Mexico could be pushed to the central region. Robert, does that make sense?
Yeah, I
But I
think
just
that manipulation of this could probably be a fluid situation. You think with those kind of bordering regions, but going back to the original big question of this segment, could this realistically get off the ground now or in the past? Do you think if the groundwork for this were laid in the 90s when the World Cup was in the United States the first time, do you think that like if this was the plan that if it was taken seriously, because that's part of the article was how seriously was this multi-tiered pro-rel setup really taken back then? But
yeah.
like if this was the blueprint from day one in the 90s, would we be living in this right now?
I think it's really hard to imagine. If you read the quotes in Pablo's piece, Galati and Rothenberg both said, yeah, we didn't really consider this. We didn't really consider Fricker's idea. Like it was all kind of just dreaming about it, a thought experiment, put something. It's what every American soccer fan has done at some point in their path of fandom.
What if? What if?
What if, right? Dreaming about what a promotion relegation system could look like. We've all had in our heads our own ideas. In fact, I have in our morning kick around inbox, and I think maybe a couple other places, I have entire manifestos about promotion and relegation in America from people that are little more than fans. Now, they became writers because they cared about this so much. Obviously, we have had people that have been executives in American soccer like Peter Wilt write their manifestos or write their ideas for how to make this work. I don't know that he was drilling down to details like 4 regions of 12 teams, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the even more interesting than maybe trying to make 4 regions of 12 teams each for a second division in Werner Ficker's plan is the detail that they wanted to have a third division that would have 96 teams across the country. And in fact, this is the image that Pablo included in his story. This is apparently how those regions would be organized for the third division. So you've got a Western division with Idaho included. You've got a sort of Northern Plains division there with Montana and Wyoming, the Dakotas, Nebraska, Kansas. You've got, I guess you would call that a Southwest region there with the 4 corner states. You've got Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, and Oklahoma together, the Southeast. What's interesting is when you look at this, like the A region makes sense. The C region makes sense. The B region is too big because there are more teams maybe even now than you would, there are too many teams in that part of the country. You would have to split off a couple states and throw them into a different region because there's just so much soccer happening in the Southeast. That sort of Midwest, I guess that's the West Midwest. You tell me, Robert. You're a Midwesterner because Michigan.
You
gets
keep throwing
lumped
me
in.
under the bus like I know something about Nebraska and Minnesota. I'm like 4 states to the east of that.
I'm talking about the D region here, which
okay, the Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, Iowa.
Yes, Missouri, Minnesota, Iowa. Yeah, that's interesting.
Those specific regions aside, looking at this map, this kind of looks now what the semi-pro or the summer amateur league sort of structure looks like. There's way more than between USL2, UPSL, NPSL. There's way more than that. So this part of the scheme, in a way, if you squint your eyes a little bit, this is kind of essentially what we have at this level.
What I don't know. So the thing about this, though, what's interesting is that according to Pablo's reading of this, in the second and third tiers of the pyramid, only 24 of the 144 teams would be professional. So even Werner Fricker, as ambitious as this idea wasn't imagining a connected system with 3 tiers with a lot of pro teams. He was imagining a lot of amateur teams who I guess then would have to go pro as they moved up. It says, it's also worth noting that until the envisioned goal of 32 first and 12 second division teams was met, any ownership group could buy its way into the first division. Only after both leagues were at full capacity would promotion and relegation commence. And I guess if you tried to apply this now, we'd be there, right? I mean, we'd be there with the first and second division at the very least.
Oh, yeah.
At the very least. And then we'd be talking about what does that third division look like. And now we have a country that, and again, 96 teams is a massive third division. And he's not really talking about one league, right? He's talking about all of these regions, the 8 regions on this map, and that being 8 leagues essentially. And obviously part of that is you limit travel costs, right? And that is a major part of what we're talking about with why professional soccer is really tough to make work in America, is because everything is really hard to get to, right? So I don't know. It's a fascinating idea. I can't say I wish it would have happened, because I do think it probably was impossible. And I don't know that it would have lasted if you tried to apply it. And then you start over again. You hit reset consistently. But at the same time, it was U.S. Soccer, who has no power to do this. They have no power to dictate the format, the structure of American soccer. And Galati says as much in the interview, or in the piece with Pablo Maurer. But it was U.S. Soccer at least envisioning something that might work in a giant country with all of this possibility, but no clear way to get there. And now what we have instead is a bunch of leagues sort of fighting each other. Like you even mentioned the short season summer amateur leagues, Rob, and how many of those are out there and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
UPSL, NPSL, and these are all doing their own thing. UPSL does 2 tournaments a year, fall and spring, and those teams play in they also play in their local high amateur leagues, men's leagues. Then you've got the NPSL, and USL League 2 is still out there doing the same sort of developmental summer program. So there's Oakland County is a good example of that. So it is it's complicated.
We shall see how this plays out, but interesting to dust off the old soccer time machine. The one thing, if this was implemented, I feel like the Richmond or the team the team would in the Northeast that won the Open Cup back in the day would still be called the Raging Rhinos. I feel like there would be a little bit more of an opportunity for the Raging Rhinos to still exist if the old school plan came to be.
If you want to do time machine and alternate history, and your dog is going crazy for this story, I just want to point that out. But
yeah,
if you
the
did that,
mailman time.
Rochester would be an MLS town, and there is a history. There's a story there. Rochester was this close to being an MLS town. Almost happened.
Throw your opinions and takes on the dusty old plan for pro-rel to USA. Throw it in the comments and join the conversation. Answer a non-related question in the chat. If I am unable or unwilling to match Jason and Jeremiah's beard game, I would say both, actually. I'm a son of a bearded man, and this thing would come in pretty patchy, and it takes a certain type of person to have a graying facial hair before they can grow a full set of facial hairs. But hey, thanks for the inquiry, but go check out Jason's second part of his interview with Jeremiah Oshant on the coffee.com/morningkickaround is where you can help donate to the show and gain access to exclusive segments over there. I think this will be the third bonus segment for Morning Kick Around on the coffee. Also, we are watching those YouTube subscriber numbers kick up. I'll keep a number of where we're at today and see where we can get to. I think we should get some sort of reward to subscribers if we hit 2,000. We got to brainstorm some motivation to get the clicking on the subscribe button.
I'm not going to give you my copy of Watchmen, but I keep thinking that I'm going to start giving some stuff away. You can see just a small selection of the things I have in my studio here in my home in Northern Virginia. I'm looking at scarves. I'm looking at a Nashville, not the MLS team, the Nashville Soccer Club flag, the USL version. I'm looking at a Jacksonville flag. Jerseys I probably won't give you, but I do have a lot of stuff here. In fact, I went to the Sirius XM studios yesterday because they turned my power off for some work they had to do. And while I was there, I realized there are a lot of things lying around that nobody really wants. So here's a thing that I picked up while I was there, Robert. You tell me what you make of this. Can you see what that is?
Oh, is that the one season wonder in Chicago?
This is the terrible logo everybody hated that they dumped after one season.
Did it make the full season? Did it make it through the full season?
I don't think it did. And this is wild. I have a 2001 FA Premier called the FA Premier League. It is a sticker book.
I was just going to ask if that was a sticker book. That's a good one. That's a beaut.
Look at those faces. Look at those baby faces there. Can you identify every one of those figures?
Michael Owen is an easy one. Is that a very fresh faced David Beckham in the middle?
I believe it is. A bald,
Um,
shaved head, David Beckham. Who else you got there?
Ooh, is Thierry Henry in the
Yes.
front? Is that Zola in the West Ham?
I believe that is Zola. Yes,
And then
absolutely.
on the right hand side, Chelsea in the old schools. I'm having a harder time with that one, to be honest.
Maybe somebody in the chat can help us out with
Not
that. 'Cause
Emil Heskey.
I didn't go back and
No.
look. No, Emil, did Heskey play for Chelsea? I remember him with Villa, but yeah,
He
I don't
bounced
remember.
around a little bit. But I'm trying to think of 2001 who would be, a magazine
I bet I can't really
cover
look at
boy.
myself and hold this up, but look at these logos. So you were talking about Chelsea with the old school. Can you see? Let me move it this way.
Yeah, that's a good look.
Uh, Chelsea's there on Chelsea's right there. I don't know if you can see Chelsea that well, but Chelsea was the old school logo. You're like, what? Jimmy Floyd Hasselback. That's who that is. Yamaha Floyd
Good shout.
Hasselback.
That
is
was
who
much.
is.
Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah,
very much to Nicholas Murray, who has the knowledge and brings it to the table.
Yeah, I didn't have too much conviction in that previous guess, but thank you for filling that up. But that's always a blast from the past, and I love that there was an Ipswich logo on there, and Ipswich obviously going to get relegated.
Man, listen, Coventry City was in the top division. Derby County was in the top division. Ipswich at the time, obviously they are now. Leeds, a couple years before the crash and before they were dumped in the first division and took forever
That
to
might
get
be
back.
their pomp right there.
I mean, Middlesbrough. Remember Middlesbrough as a Sunderland was in the first division at the time. Bradford City was in the first division in 2001. Insane.
That's a wild take. And I love the stat that Ipswich actually has a winning record against Manchester City in the top flight, which I thought was a hilarious stat. But that's a rabbit hole to go down another day. Wednesday's morning has been kicked, and we will see you again Friday, 9:30 Eastern, right here on Morning Kick Around on YouTube. And until then, everybody, enjoy your soccer.